The next topic is India and the US to continue their trade discussions. Here we know that almost all countries have trade issues under Donald Trump. Okay, so the US is making efforts to promote its trade interests, whatever happens to its trade allies, and India is also not free from the Trump attack. We know that India has a trade deficit of around 185 billion US dollars. It is one of the top trade deficit countries in the world. Still, India has a surprising trade surplus with the United States, a trade surplus of 21 billion US dollar. Okay, if India has a trade surplus, that means the US has a trade deficit. The trade between the two countries is very important, but the US is targeting, Donald Trump is targeting India's trade surplus. Here, regarding the India-US trade engagement, what the latest development says. Here, the Hindu quotes that Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is planning to meet US trade representative in the coming month to discuss trade issues between the two countries. Okay, remember that during the last month, both the state heads, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump, met and discussed about the trade issues, and they decided to continue the trade engagement. As a follow-up, our Commerce Minister will be visiting the United States. That is the news here. So, according to an official cited by the Hindu, India and the US are very close to resolving all their trade-related differences. This we are always hearing. The discussion will be on market access. Remember, you have to understand that word, market access. Since the beginning of the Trump era, the US was insisting on getting market access to US products into India. So there is the issue, and we have to go through what is market access. Market access, as the name suggests, has a generic meaning, implying that a country's product or products gets access or entry to a foreign market with reduced barriers. Remember, market access means our products can get entry into foreign markets with reduced tariffs or reduced quota or altogether reduced barriers. Okay, the restriction to our products to foreign markets should be low. That's the meaning of getting market access into foreign markets. Okay, or in other words, reduced level of tariff and other restrictions like quota indicate better market access. So that is the meaning of market access. Now, market access in the India-US trade. In the case of US products, the US is insisting India to reduce the level of tariff on US goods. Okay. Last year, US insisted India to cut import duties on information and communication technology products, including premium mobile phones and smartwatches, equipments for telecom networks such as switches and routing machines, radio receivers, and select print and circuit assemblies. At present, these items have a tax rate of 20%. So the US is demanding that India has to reduce the level of customs duty on the import of these high-end products. The US also wants India to forgo price caps on medical equipment, including stents, as India is a major market for stents. Similarly, India is also demanding the US to reduce tariff on certain type of Indian consumer goods as well. Okay, so that is the demand from the Indian side. Both countries are going to engage on trade discussions, and we are here considering the Harley-Davidson case. That is a hot issue raised by the US President Trump himself. He was saying that India was imposing a tax rate of 100% on Harley-Davidson bike. The US attacked India for the high tariff on the import of expensive US bikes. Import tariff on Harley-Davidson bikes were 100%, and after the Trump's campaign, India reduced it to 50%. The company has also a local assembling unit in India. So that was the issue regarding Harley-Davidson. And coming to the current discussion or the coming discussions, how the developments are going on. The current discussion is based on Trump's pressure on India to reduce tariff on US goods. Donald Trump tweeted that tariffs imposed by New Delhi on American products were no longer acceptable. His tweets are always controversial, sharp, and not having much diplomatic sense. So he tweeted that the tariff level adopted by India is not acceptable. Trump repeatedly described India as a very, very high tariff nation and a tariff king. And that is his way of presentation or approach to tariff issues. The objective of the US strategy is to reduce its trade deficit with India. So that is the main objective here. The US trade deficit with India is 21.3 billion. That means US exports are low, whereas its import from India is high by 21.3 billion. In 2018, that registered a decline from 22.3 billion a year ago. Over the last few years, the Trump administration opened several fronts for trade tussle with India. The origin of the present tariff stalemate goes back to the US decision to impose tariff on steel and aluminum imports from 12 countries, including India, on security grounds. So that is the issue which triggered all the trade disputes since the time of Donald Trump. India imposed retaliatory tariffs on 28 US products, including almonds and apples, from June 5, after the Trump administration revoked its preferential trade privileges. So India's tariff on 29 US goods, mainly composed of agricultural items. It was first announced in June 2018 after the Trump administration's decision to go ahead with the tariff on steel and aluminum imports from India. India's retaliatory tariff is expected to affect nearly 290 million worth of US imports, mainly comprised of agriculture. On the other hand, India's exports to steel and aluminum products to US should at around 1.5 billion US dollar. So the higher impact will be on India. Its export value is 1.5, whereas the US export value is just 220 to 290 million US dollar. India repeatedly requested exemption from the US, but there was no favorable reply. As a gesture, while announcing the tariff on 29 US goods last year, India reduced tariff on the import of motorcycles from the US also. And in recent months, the US and Indian officials are making discussions on the background of the trade conflicts. Both sides are expected to address the outstanding trade issues. During July 2011-12, US Trade Representative Christopher Wilson held discussions with Indian counterparts in New Delhi. The meeting was aimed at providing new impetus to bilateral trade and commercial ties, in line with the mandate given by the Prime Minister Modi and President Trump during their meeting at Osaka, Japan on 28th June. Now the Commerce Ministry is going to meet US officials to sort out the trade spat between the two countries. That means both countries are continuing to engage on their trade issues.